welcome to another edition of the Independent Creator Podcast. I'm humble host Josh, and we got something a little bit different. Closing out the year, it's going to be Christmas time here in a couple weeks. Or if you're watching or listening to this episode later date, happy Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you want. But we're going to be going over a couple things to, the gift giving guide or holiday season wish list that content creators and or family members or significant others of content creators, what they might be looking for. And this is what we're going to be looking at tonight, is actually a different hardware, software ideas and stuff, what to look for, the cheap stuff, and then if you have a spare no expense account, the more expensive stuff. So let's actually get into the episode here. So what it is with any kind of holiday season is kind of like looking at what you are looking for as a content creator. If you yourself is looking for, or if you know someone that is a content creator and they might need some little bit of help to up their game, so to speak. Well, one thing that a lot of us constantly harp on about is your audio. Now, having good audio is pretty important because it kind of, that's over half of what being a content creator is all about. Speaking into a microphone and getting whatever you want to talk about out there to the masses or to your community. Now, microphones are a dime a dozen, pretty much. There is I'm not going to say dime a dozen, but they're pretty much range the gamut of all different kinds of likes and shapes and sizes and price ranges and stuff like that. But majority of it is actually pretty affordable for a great majority of people out there. And I'm not going to look at, like the microphone I use is a Beacon mic. This is like a $300 mic. You can have a perfectly decent sounding microphone that is around $30 to $40. And it's a USB mic. So as long as you have an open USB mic, a USB port on your computer, you can actually, have a good sounding production without spending a lot of money on everything else. One of the big factors is, I know this is a funny name, but everyone has gas. I know it's a fart joke in there somewhere. Now, gas is a gear acquisition syndrome, because when you look at other content creators and you're like, oh, this person has this particular microphone, or they got the Shure SM7B. I'm going to get that microphone, until you go to the listing and see it's almost a $400 microphone, and then you need to spend another, starting at $100 for a XLR input or interface to get that audio into your computer. So you're already up to $500, let's say $600 of your hard-earned money, and you haven't even spent anything on like computer or software or video, if you want to include that. It's just the audio portion is you're at $600. So actually, let's take a look at some of the options that we have here. All right. Nope, wrong scene. This one. Now, some people would balk at the price. You can't get good quality at $30. Well, yes, you can. Now, yeah, your first mic was a Toner TC777. It's $26 on Amazon. It sounds great. Yeah. Again, Fifine is a great company. We bought my daughter this particular microphone as well. Yeah, it's not the best, but it gives you decent quality for someone that's just starting out. That, for someone who's just saying, hey, I want to try this live streaming or be a content creator, and they don't want to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars. This is a good option to get them into the door of, getting started. If they start liking it and start wanting to produce better content and want to upgrade down the line, yeah, sure. You can upgrade to, was it a Rode Pod mic? That's $100. That's a USB microphone, which has great sounding. Or if you want to go a bit even higher, go to a Beacon mic, which, like, again, like I said, this is what I use. Or, if you want to go even further, get a Shure SM7B. Again, that's like $400, but there is a price point for everybody that's out there. And I would suggest, if you're just starting out, get a Fifine, well, however you want to say it. It's a USB microphone. All you need is empty USB port on your computer, and Bob's your uncle, as they would say over across the pond. But again, like I said, it's not the best, but it's a decent one to get your foot in the door. There are some issues with this, is that this has an I want to say it's a noise gate, but I believe that is on the Windows side of things, because every once in a while, if my dog gets very excited playing like Overwatch or Fortnite, and it doesn't pick up the higher frequencies. But I think it's just because it just caps out. It has like has a high threshold, so it's kind of like, again. But for normal speaking, talking head, or game live streaming, it's perfectly fine. And again, it's $30. They have ones on here. I think there's a $60 one. It's a package. There is, this one comes with a windscreen on it. A podcast mic. If we move up the next tier, it's $70 or almost $80. Why is this 2? Okay, that's weird, because I think this listing is Amazon for some odd reason, but sold by Fifine. But this one is the XLR and USB combo, and there is some other ones. I think it's the forget the company name. It's like something 2020 that has a USB port and has XLR output as well. So you can use one or the other depending on your use case scenario. Okay, I think this is a double pack for some odd reason. But if I go to just the listing, it's $50 for the dual, the USB and then the XLR. And again, less than $100, you can have a perfectly good sounding microphone. That really all you need is a good sounding microphone, or decent sound microphone, because video, I believe, and this is my personal opinion, is something that would be more akin to not late stage, but medium kind of live streams. Because a lot of people would go to a Logitech C920 type of webcams, because they're cheap. They're under $100. I believe they're like this is C922 or 920E. It's a different naming convention that they have for it now, but it's a very decent webcam that's been around for a decade now. Actually, probably more than that, and it gives you decent results. Now, it's not going to give you the best results, because especially in low light, it's going to suffer a lot with low light situations. So you want to make sure that you have a decent lighting, or if you have overhead light, it's not the best, but it's going to be good enough for someone who's starting out. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do. Is, if you want to get started, is get into the content creation, live streaming kind of space, is getting started with the most low cost options that you have available because it's this kind of, I won't say career, but it is a career. It's hard. It's very cutthroat, and it's something that you really have to put the work in to make a name for yourself, or any kind of put yourself out there. It's not something where, I'm going to start streaming and I expect to be having 1,000 people watching my streams within a month or two. That's never going to happen unless you are already in like a pro league player of Apex or League of Legends or some kind of other esports. It's really not going to happen that way to 98% of the people who start live streaming. And it's a shame that a lot of people are having that kind of mentality, that if I don't have instant success and I don't have hundreds of subscribers or uh, donators or members or anything, whatever, that I'm going to be a complete failure. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's not how it works. It'll take months, years of dedicated work and actually doing the actual job of being a content creator or of a live streamer. And then success is not guaranteed. You're not going to, if you're doing this for 5+ years and you don't have instant success after that time, try something different. I mean, it might not be for you, or you just come to find out after a couple months that, hey, I don't really like this anymore. It's way too much work. Even just spinning up a game and hitting go live on OBS or whatnot, and I'm not having fun anymore. Well, it's time to pack it in, because obviously it's not for everybody. So I kind of like steer a lot of people, especially if they're just starting out or just thinking about getting into this kind of creator space, is start cheap as you possibly can. If you want to add video, get a webcam. I wouldn't use your phone as a camera, because not only is it might harm your phone over long periods of time of using it, because it does, especially if you have like let's say like a latest iPhone or a latest Samsung or any kind of Android device. It does heat up the phone's internals, because that CPU and that camera controller is working overtime for a long period of time. So it does heat up, and heat is a killer for any kind of electricity, or I'm not just saying electricity, but electronic devices and components. Because after a time, it'll severely shorten the lifetime of those components. I'm not to say that you can't use it. You can definitely use it for using a camera phone for your content creation to do, like, TikToks or something like that. Because many people have seen some success or great success on the short form game, and by using your camera and your phone. And a lot of people, I've come to notice that the less produced look to your content, the better results you'll get. I don't know. It's kind of in my mind, my boomer mind, whatnot. I see that as, no, I have to have it more produced as well as I can. But people have been getting a lot of success of using just their phone, or even like much older phones, and using like a lower quality camera to get better results with interactions, views, and getting their content out there. So it's kind of weird how certain avenues or certain content types would, generate the audience for, especially on, different avenues like TikTok or YouTube Shorts. So it's kind of like you have to mess around and experiment and see how things fare. Because if you go out into the world as a content creator and a live streamer, you're going to fail constantly. It's something that you're going to have to get used to a lot. Now, let's say going on to different parts of, let's say on different things of hardware. Another thing it's a nice to have. It's not mandatory to have this. I know in OBS there is a plugin for audio controls, which means, what I mean by that is by controlling your sound level for, let's say, Spotify, your music, for your just starting, or starting soon screen, or be right back, or during your entire stream. One way you can do this is using like an audio interface or audio control. Like I use the Beacon Mix Create. I've used this for a couple years, or since it's pretty much just came out, or when it came out. It's perfect for me that I can say I want my Spotify music at like 50%, and my Discord and game audio is completely two different channels. So again, this is a nice to have. This is not mandatory to have a great sounding or highly produced stream, but again, it's just nice to have. Hey Fox, how's it going? but it's kind of like it's a nice to have where you can control your volume controls for your different audio aspects in your on your computer. Now there are different options that are not as expensive. There is what was it? The I'm blanking on the name. Yes, I did ditch the fake cell phone and change things up. But it was more of like it takes the concept of the Beacon Mix Create, and I think it was like $80. So it was like half, less than, or more than half the price of what the Beacon Mix Create is. And there's software options as well. There is Voice Meter, but Voice Meter is kind of not as user friendly as it could be. And the developers for that are really, they don't care. That's just my personal opinion. That's from my look at how they respond to people asking about, hey, can we change this or suggesting different things for them? And it's like, nope, this is what we made. And if you don't like it, too bad. There's the road. So it's kind of, you know, you don't have to have this, but if you start enjoying content creation and live streaming, I would suggest looking into a little bit better way to control your audio levels. Like I said, OBS, there is a plugin to do just that. So you can look into that plugin as well. Speaking of OBS, OBS is free and is used on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So all three operating systems have the capability of using this free. Of course, in the name, it's open broadcast software. It's open source pretty much. So you can take the OBS software, and if you have the know-how, you can fork it into whatever version that you want, which Streamlabs has done just that. They have taken the OBS project, the software itself, and made their own version of it as a, you know, if you want to use our alert system and chatbots and all sorts of other stuff that is a part of the Streamlabs ecosystem, you are kind of directed into using Streamlabs desktop. So they have done what a lot of other people have done, or I should say not a lot of, but you know, made it their own. But OBS is free. There are other options that are not free, but they do provide great solutions. One of those is XSplit. Now, XSplit has been around for decades, really since just before the dawn of OBS as well. They were kind of like the leader of the broadcasting software for the prosumer. So they do have a broadcasting software that you can use that is very similar to OBS. It offers the same bells and whistles, but a different twist on it. Now, the pricing on it is comparably reasonable to other options. Now, one of them you can buy was at the Broadcaster Premium for $60. That's a 1 year pricing. That's not too bad for $60 a year. Like it says here, it's only $5 a month. It gets rid of the watermark because, of course, if you're using the free, it kind of puts a watermark, and it has some limitations or restrictions on exactly the options that you can use within the software. The VIP support and all this other stuff like that, multi-streaming. But yeah, or your phone just screamed at your live. It's like, hey, I'm live. I didn't do that. Your phone did. But you can also, if $60 is not too, or if it's not what you want, well, you can pay more. It's $15 a month, but you're eventually paying more every year to get the same software. So usually annual plans are a great way to save some money in the long term. But yeah, you're putting more up front at the beginning. Oh, it's Tusky. I use, what do I use? I forgot what I used. Ivory for my Mastodon adventures. Now you also have a lifetime option here. And these, we've already seen how lifetime payments or how lifetime options really don't mean lifetime. It's kind of take it with a grain of salt. Again, it's $200, and you basically want to be inside the XSplit ecosystem for a long time because you're spending $200. You want to get your money's worth. But we've seen it with, what was it? Not film. It was a Filmora. And there was another recent one where they changed it's a broadcasting software. It's not one of these too knowledgeable about, but what they did is that, yeah, you can pay for a lifetime, but after a couple years, all of a sudden, yeah, we're making two different products now, and those are completely different than what you paid for. So if you want to use those, you're going to have to pay us again to, essentially pay again for the same product, but it's a different product. But again, it's the same. You see how confusing that can be, and how kind of anti-consumer it is, really. So I kind of stay away from the lifetime pricing. It is enticing, but you got to also look at how other companies have dealt this blow against the consumers and say, oh, no, it's a different product that you paid for back in the day. See, we made a change. We named it something else. So it's not essentially the same technically. So it's kind of, be weary of that. I kind of look for the month to month or to the yearly plan options, or go free, go back to OBS and just use it that way with the free version. Now, what I use is a program that is basically just Mac only. It's Ecamm Live. It's essentially the same thing. It's geared for more of a content recording Zoom call with the what's the term? The live recording camera. Man, I'm just blanking on the names already. But it also does live streaming as well. But it's built for Mac ecosystem, Mac OS. So you're not going to find this on Windows. You're not going to find this on Linux. And it's just Mac OS. And it's something I find that I have a better time using this on the Mac because I do 2 PC streaming. So I have what you're looking at right now is from my Windows-based machine where I have all the gameplay footage, all this stuff like B-roll-esque and the like, and also it has the capability of bringing guest interviews, the call-in guests, I should say, that up to 10 guests at a time, as long as your bandwidth is capable and of course your hardware as well. But I find it in my workflow, I enjoy using Ecamm, and it's pretty much it's great for what I do with it. And again, it may not be for everybody, especially if you don't have a Macintosh or any kind of Mac OS based machine. And again, that's why I go back to OBS. It's like if you're again starting out and you're not sure if you're going to continue using this, use OBS. Now, if you do have a Macintosh and you want to try out Ecamm, I do have a link that'll be in the description down below on YouTube, and also throughout my websites. This Indie Creator, I have a link. I believe it's up there in the top. I gotta double check because I've been changing a lot of things around, but you do get a 14-day free trial for Ecamm. So I do have that disclaimer that I am an affiliate for Ecamm, and I've been using it over about 2 years now since I've jumped into the Mac OS ecosystem, and I love it. But again, there is a cost to this. The pricing is for the version I use is I paid a month to month, which I probably should go into the yearly. It's the $40 a month. It's the pro standard. You get the live interview, the virtual mic and webcam. That's what I was thinking of. Oh, words are hard. The 4K streaming, the capability. I don't stream at 4K. I stream at 1440, and I let everything else, downscale it, the stream, because I find For some odd reason, YouTube, if you stream at 1440, but you view the live stream or any kind of videos I create in 1440 at 1440, and you only have a 1080p screen, you get a better resolution or a better experience than if you watched or viewed the 1080 version of it. It's weird. YouTube is weird like that. I don't know why. All right, just close that out. There we go. All right. I know you can't be a professional streamer, content creator without any kind of technical issues, right? Now this is completely, yeah, it's coming in clear. Thank you guys. Yeah, I get that every once in a while. What I forgot to do, to tell you the truth, is I forgot to restart because I've had my computers going for the past couple days. So that's my fault for not restarting them to get fresh and clean before the stream started. And I knew that in the back of my mind. It's like, oh, I should restart. Nope, I didn't do it. I was being dumb. It should have used OBS on Linux. No, it still would have happened happened to me on that as well. Just be my issue that I would have to deal with. That happens to me all the time. Not all the time, but you get the gist of it. But where was I? Oh yeah, this is gonna be a fun time doing the post production, putting all this stuff together. Cameras, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, it's definitely bollocks. But yeah, you can find a Logitech C920. It's a great webcam for $60 on Amazon. Wrong scene. So if you want a webcam, really it's good. It's not, like I said, it's not going to be the best, but it gets your foot in the door. Is $60 for a good webcam. Now, if you want to upgrade from that and you want to stay into the webcam space, Elgato has a camera. It's the Elgato Facecam. It's a little bit more expensive at $150, but what you're viewing is through an Elgato Facecam right now. They do have the Pro version, which is the 4K, and that is $300. Now you want to think to yourself, why am I going to spend $300 on a webcam? Well, it does do pretty good. It has 4K 60 capability where you can do your zoom ins and crops and stuff like that, and 60K motion FPS. So you don't, if I was doing this, if I was doing on 30 FPS, it'd be kind of like a blurry motion between my fingers. So again, it's kind of like how you want to work on your gear acquisition syndrome. If you want to get the best of the best, you might want to skip the webcam tiers completely and go straight to a DSLR or mirrorless cameras, because those will set you back a couple hundred actually. If the body itself is probably around $500 to $800. And my helmet cam works as a webcam if I want, right? And speaking of that, and like GoPros are capable of being a webcam. Now there are a few of them. There's like a small range that you can connect to your computer via USB that have the capability of being, ready to go as a camera for your stream. But they do work. Now they'll have a little bit of the fisheye effect that GoPros are known for, but it's not really as pronounced. So it's something that you'll have to think about. Yeah, and your helmet cam works natively on Linux, so no external kernel modules, right? I think a lot of cameras actually would work too through Linux, because everything is like the NVIDIA driver support, especially if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. There is an NVIDIA driver on Linux that you can use, or AMD. You can use AMD as well, I believe. Yeah. But with these different cameras, you have your different tiers, I should say. So you have your beginner, which is a $60 C920 or something equivalent. I would not go for anything cheap like a $20 camera, unless you want to go for that scuffed look and that's what you want to go for. Or if you have a video encoder or interface for like an 8mm camcorder, or go that route, I'm sure you can do that, no problem. It's just as long as you have the materials necessary to get the video signal into your computer some way. So I know Epos Fox, he does a lot of like 80s, early 90s kind of style with their kind of content, their videos. So I'm sure if you look at Epos Fox and their community, I'm sure you can find a way to include old tech into your workflow to have that kind of aesthetic, I should say, which is a great thing to see. Is that not many people want to go back to, or I should say, retro tech, retro styling, because I'm sure you can take an 8mm or old Samsung, Sony cam, any kind of old camera from the 80s and early 90s, or 90s, I should say. And all you need is a video encoder, and to get the not the RGB, but the red, yellow, and white cabling. If you're of my age, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You go into the encoder, and then from the encoder USB into your computer. And again, it's going to have that 480. That's not going to be 720. It depends on which camera you have, but more than likely it's going to be 480 or 360p video resolution. It's not going to be the best, but if that's what you're going for, go all out. I mean, that's great. And I'm sure the retro tech is coming back, and people are actually hungry for any kind of content that looks like old VHS styles. So that's one thing that you can look for, is finding that retro tech and bringing yourself into that niche. And there is an audience for pretty much anyone and everyone out there. So it's completely up to how you want to use your workflow, and if you want to tinker, if you like to do that kind of stuff, because you got to realize, to go for the retro tech aesthetic, you're going to be spending a lot of time figuring out how to get things working with modern technology. It's something that you have to have the mindset of actually doing, and the patience, I should say, because the stuff like that is not going to be easily found, and it's going to be hard to come by, and maybe even more expensive than the newer stuff. Yeah, show me who wants VHS. I have plenty of tapes to sell them. Hey, you know what? I know. I just saw there's this guy, I think it was on Reddit or something, that he's obsessed with the movie Titanic. So he's trying to gather as many VHS copies of the movie Titanic. People have their things. Yeah, but VHS, any kind of those tapes are probably not going to be good, especially if they're not stored properly. So it's been ravaged with time, humidity, the elements, so they easily break down. Yeah, I know. I used to have it too, years ago. 2 tapes. There was Braveheart. Gettysburg was another one. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see that if you have the know-how or the patience and the resources to gather the stuff, I would suggest looking into like a retro style streaming or content, because it's untapped. There's a potential out there. Yeah, it was This Goes Black. You're watching it all of a sudden, bloop, oh, tape's done. Put in tape 2. But it's one of those things where you really have to, like I said, have the resources to do the stuff that, if you want to go with the non-mainstream stuff, avenues of content creation and live streaming. If you want to go try your hand, all the different things I've shown you right now would be perfect, especially on the cheaper end. I'm not saying that it's cheap. If it's cheap, it's crap. No, if it's cheap, it's great. Many people use cheap products and equipment to get great results for their content. There is what's his name, Tyler One. I wouldn't, unless you like the screaming man-child aesthetic. He uses a crappy headset mic that let me give you a fair warning, headphone warning right now. If you watch any of his clips or live streams, it's yeah. There's also other people that use crappy cameras that just have it sit off in the corner, like on their screen. And then, of course, the rest of their stuff is the gaming. I've even seen someone have a camera focused on a TV as they play, and that's their content. And you know what? People love, that scuffed kind of production value. So you really don't need the best of the best or mid-range or cheap. It's just something that, if you feel that your audience, your potential audience, people that want to watch you or your viewers would like this kind of stuff, I say go for it. Your pencil was cheap and epic. Your mic you used was $3. I've known people who use, those old style, the desk. You would think like ham radio type of microphones that sit on a desk on a gooseneck. Yeah, I've seen some people use those too. And of course, audio quality is not the best, but it's just their aesthetic that they like and the one to go for. Pine Sill. Never heard that kind of microphone. Let me look it up. It's a soldering iron. Yep. Yeah, I just looked it up. But yeah, it's content creation and live streaming is really, there's no book or standard operating procedure of how to do things, and you have to go by step 1, go to 2, then go to 3. It's completely up to you as a content creator to find out what works for you and what works the best for your audience, and just do a lot of experimentation, because really there isn't any wrong way to do it, and there's not really any right way to do it. It's just, again, it's experimentation, just to do whatever you feel like it works out for you. And I would suggest, if you want to try things, like, again, go as cheap as possible, or if you know someone who wants to do this, go give them the Fifine microphone at the beginning of the episode. It's $30. Or find a microphone that's cheaper than that. There's other options. But the Fifine, in my opinion, is a decent microphone that works for a large range of people. Again, you're not going to have the stunning, beautiful, crisp, bassy tones of a Shure SM7B, but it's not a $400 microphone. It's a $30 microphone. So have your expectations lowered. And even then, sometimes this Shure can come and sound like crap if it's not set up correctly. And you can spend $400 and everyone says, wow, you spent $400 on this microphone and it sounds like garbage. Oof. Bad investment. No, it's just because you didn't take the time. You didn't take the time to set it up. If you are going into a interface that doesn't have enough gain on it, because the Shure needs a lot of gain. Or you can spend $1,200 or higher. There's like $10,000 microphones out there that, if it's not set up correctly, will sound like garbage. So take the time and actually, when you get your equipment, take the time and actually learn how to use it and learn how to set it up correctly. And it might take you like a couple days to figure out what the perfect sound might be. Or in the case of video, the different settings, like your lighting setup can be different depending on whenever you do your recordings or your live streams. So take the time and do some experimentation and to figure out what you need to do to make it sound the best you can possibly make it. Because unless you're an audio engineer, the rest of us have to go by what it sounds like and everything, and what other people tell us and say, oh, well, if you do this, try this particular setup. Okay. Oh, it does sound a little bit better. Thank you. It's just, that's why I like the content creation community, the independent creator community. It's very helpful. There's some outliers that are not very helpful or downright mean, but you know what? You can quickly see who they are and what they are, and you can ignore them and block them and say, yeah, pound sand, buddy. Your advice is not needed here. Be gone. But yeah, and that's the reason why I started up this indie creator and this podcast as well, is to like share information that I found in my experience, and eventually I'm going to be reaching out to other people, other creators next year, and try and do some interviews with them, and get their advice and their experience as well. And it's just something nice to put out there, that if I can help at least one person or help somebody, I feel better. I feel good. As long as I can help one person, that's all really matters. I'm not in this for, I got to get like 60,000 likes on my post or anything like that. No, I'm the worst one that does self-promotion. I can't self-promote to save my life, but I do try. And I know a lot of people are probably in the same position as I am, and just doing our best and going about it. That's why, like I said, I started up thisindie.creator.com. It's a forum and website and getting all that set up to get more people in there and share their experiences and resources that they might have seen or help them to better their experience as a content creator or live streamer. So definitely check it out. And again, this podcast episode will go as audio only portion tomorrow. Once I get done editing, it's going to be a little bit more involved, especially I had two or actually three different breaks. So I got to put them together, but I do as little editing as possible. I kind of do it all in one take. So it's kind of like the real experience of me and the Independent Creator Podcast. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you liked this episode, go ahead. Definitely leave a review, or if you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts, definitely would love to see a review there. If any other place and you have the capability to rate it or review it, do so. Like I said, it'll come out tomorrow morning. And all different podcast players. You got Pocket Cast, you got Overcast, RSS feeds, Apple Podcasts. Pretty much wherever you can get an audio podcast, you can find it. And also the video portion of this will be on the PeerTube. I'll try to get it on the PeerTube. I've been having some issue on Tilvids uploading certain videos, but you can also view it on YouTube. But I'm definitely going to be working on see if I can get this posted up on Tilvids, which I have a link as well to the Tilvids channel for the Independent Creator channel. Well, with that, thank you for coming by, everybody. And I've been streaming to our own cast server at indiebasement.live and on Livespace and on YouTube. Well, except for right now. But the first part of this, it lives on YouTube. But yeah, technical issues notwithstanding. But anyways, I'd like to say thank you for coming out and enjoying the episode. Until next time, have a good night, and I'll see you 2 weeks. But next week, I'm going to be doing like a special something. The hell is Livespace? It's another live streaming service. I have check it out. It's live.space. But until next time, I'll see you guys on the next one. Later, taters.